So it is another edition of the One More and I'm Out of Here podcast. A lot to get to today, so I'll just start with that right there. Jason Kiefer, may I read to you from the Congressional Committee, the House Committee on Oversight of Ways and Means and Judiciary.
Please do.
And their report that was filed this past August. I won't read the whole thing because it's like 90 pages long. President Biden's legacy is marked by abuse of public office, corruption, and obstruction. Our impeachment inquiry shows conclusively that Joe Biden abused his public office for the private financial benefit of the Biden family and Biden business associates. The facts speak for themselves. Democrats can no longer stretch the truth to cover for President Biden. As Democrats celebrate Joe Biden and crown Kamala Harris as his heir apparent, Americans should remember the reality of the Biden-Harris administration: crime, chaos, and corruption. Let's review some of the key findings, shall we? 291-page report, by the way.
That's a lot of pages. From
2014 to present, as part of a conspiracy to monetize Joe Biden's office of public trust to enrich the Biden family, Biden family members and their associates received over $27 million from foreign individuals or entities. In order to obscure the source of these funds, the Biden family and their associates set up shell companies to conceal these payments from scrutiny. The Biden family used proceeds from these business activities to provide hundreds of thousands of dollars to Joe Biden, including thousands of dollars that are directly traceable to, can you guess where there, Andrew Pappas?
Would this be Ukraine?
China.
Or China.
While Jim Biden claimed that
China.
He gave this money to Joe Biden to repay personal loans, Jim Biden did not provide any evidence to support this claim. The Biden family's receipt of millions of dollars required Joe Biden's knowing participation in this conspiracy while serving as vice president. I'll read one more point, then I'll turn it over to you guys. Joe Biden used his status as vice president to garner favor outcomes for his son and his business partners' foreign business dealings. Witnesses acknowledge that Hunter Biden involved Vice President Biden in many of his business dealings with Russia, Romania, China, Kazakhstan, and Ukrainian individuals and companies. Then Vice President Biden met or spoke with nearly every one of the Biden family's foreign business associates, including those from Ukraine, China, Russia, and Kazakhstan. As a result, the Biden family has received millions of dollars from these foreign entities. So when anyone tells you that Joe Biden was just being a loving father to his son, and Joe Biden thinks that Hunter Biden was somehow unfairly targeted for prosecution, remember what I just told you. Remember what I just read to you. This is a public document. You can go right now. You can Google House Oversight Committee, Biden Family Report. You can read the exact same thing that I am reading to you right now. Joe Biden is a crook. He is thoroughly corrupt. He is not a good guy. And the reason that I believe that he issued this pardon to his son was to save his own sorry, wrinkled, fucking old ass.
Amen.
Yes. Wow.
I've got plenty more where that came from.
And that's why everyone's like, well, he loves his son and blah, 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 blah.
That's a good
And I'm
monologue.
like, well, why did he go back 10 years? Why 10 years? You got to understand the timeline, and that covers it.
Yes, exactly.
Now, can I ask you a question? Where's Kazakhstan? Because I really didn't catch that part.
It's one of the stands. It's
over there. It's over in that direction.
So it's like Turkey.
But the thing is, the whole thing about Hunter Biden and the laptop was never about Hunter Biden. The vast majority of the American people don't give a flying fig Newton about fucking Hunter Biden or what his activities were. It's about Joe Biden and the time that he was vice president. Don't forget, Joe Biden was in charge of a lot of the foreign policy of Barack Hussein Obama. Mm-hmm. Joe Biden used that position to sell influence, sell out American foreign policy to do what? to funnel money into his own pocket
Right.
and the pockets of his family members.
You think we'll ever know how much Ukrainian money has flowed back to Joe Biden's pocket?
I think someday we're going to find out.
You think so?
I think someday we will find out.
Because I think that's probably the most glaring example of just graft and corruption, that they send money over there, they send a certain percentage back to you, and you just make out like a bandit.
Yeah. Well, and it's not just Joe Biden cashing in on this gravy train. It's Chuck Schumer.
Well,
and
yeah.
it's Mitch McConnell.
But I mean, or the whole Biden family. You got Joe, his brother. What's his brother's name? Bob?
Jimmy?
I don't know.
What was that show? Doesn't give a shit. Don't give a shit. Whatever.
But I mean, so who's going to be the next person Biden pardons in his family?
But it's going to come down
his
to
wife or his brother.
Well, here's the thing with
maybe all of them.
Here's the thing with Hunter. Okay, he gets pardoned. He gets called onto the stand. He loses his Fifth Amendment.
He can no longer take the Fifth.
He cannot take the Fifth, and he is now compelled by a court. Whether that happens or not, we'll see. But
I think the country, honestly, I think the country. I think even because if you watch CNN or some of these liberal commentators, they're even disgusted by this. It's not the fact that he pardoned his son because he's his son. It's what Dan just read,
yeah.
And what everybody knows is that he pardoned his son to protect his ass because he's dirty.
Exactly.
And I think I really think the country is just so sick of this. They don't want to go down this road. I really think, I don't know anybody. I was behind a car today. I took a picture of it. I was going to send it to you guys. And they still had their Biden-Harris sticker on there. I was like, oh, good for you. Now, she also had I love cats. So that explains a lot. But I got to tell you, let me ask you guys, do you know anyone that you personally know or have conversed with that is like, yeah, I think he's a good president. I think he did a good job?
No, he's going to go down. And multiple other podcasts that I listen to, he's going to go down as one of the worst presidents of the United States.
Well, worse for a lot of reasons.
Behind Jimmy Carter and behind others.
I think he's going to go down as one of the most absolutely morally and ethically corrupt presidents we've ever had.
Yes. So
and that's saying something.
I'm gonna play this real quick. Just with your, I love how you started that out. I love that we didn't even talk about it. Had no idea how that was going to go, but I love it. But our friend Sideshow Bob.
Not for God's sake.
I mean, Karinne Jean Pierre. Sorry. For, she's there for at least
Cali's
a month and a half.
I mean, of course you met somebody in Cali, David J.
And if I were her, I would quit today. I would have quit as soon as this happened.
If she had any personal integrity,
well, she has.
She
none.
would.
She has.
No, she has none. She has none.
But let's. So we've dealt with a few years of her chastising us,
right,
like we are children,
right,
i.e., us, the press, whatever. More so, Peter Doocy, which I love their interactions.
It's epic to watch.
That. But you get chastised because no, you're wrong. And it's like batting you on the nose saying, no, you're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong. Well, I'd love to see this fucking bullshit.
Is there any possibility that the president would end up pardoning his son?
No. And I was very clear and I said no. It's still a no. It's still a no.
It will always be a no.
It's still a no. It will be a no. It is a no. And I don't have anything else to add. Will he pardon his son? No. I've been very clear. The president's been very clear when we've been asked this question.
His son, Hunter, is also up for being sentenced next month. Does the president have any intention of pardoning him?
We've been asked that question multiple times. Our answer stands, which is no.
It's no.
So the funny thing is, Mom, I want a cookie. No. Mom, I really want a cookie. I stand by my stance, and it's no. Fuck you, bitch. That fucking clown, Sideshow Bob, she's going to get a talk show. She's going to be on a talk show. She's going to get something out of this at some point.
I think her and Peter Doocy are going to do have a 2-person show and go on the road.
No.
I don't think so.
I actually think
I might pay money to go see that.
That would be funny, but I just don't. I don't think so. I think there's there's genuine dislike there, and I think she is just such. I mean, I have
She's
I've
a
seen
fucking clown.
She is a
Andrew.
clown. I know.
Andrew, she's a clown. She's a fucking bitch.
No
to be
question.
honest with
No
you.
question.
Well,
And
is she going to go back to MSNBC like Jen Psaki did and have
probably
her own show?
Probably, or they'll put her on The View or something like that.
And
She's-
Saki's show is bullshit.
well, it's MSNBC, right?
Right, exactly. Which, well, Elon's going to own here soon, potentially.
Maybe.
But Joe Biden is such a liar, even in the statement that he put out, pardoning his son, which, by the way, I saw a headline of an article. I didn't have a chance to read it today. I guess technically when you do a pardon, it's customary to run those through the Department of Justice. I guess there's a standard operating procedure for that.
Usually. Let me guess. They didn't do that. Right?
Apparently, Joe Biden bypassed that.
No.
I imagine that.
Absolutely bypassed it.
The whole notion that he says,
And it usually happens at the end of your presidency.
Well, I mean, this is for all intents and purposes. This is the end of his presidency, but
he talks
It's
about
closer to inauguration.
I would agree with you. It's closer to as the limo's pulling up to take you away. But
or the hearse.
or the hearse, whatever the case.
But
may
he
be.
tries to make the case how Hunter Biden was singled out because of his name.
Right. And what's the difference between that and Trump?
I'm sorry. Two of the big issues that stand out to me, that if you lie on a federal form to purchase a firearm, there may or may not be some people in this room that have maybe affixed their signature to such a form. If you lie on that form, then you are subject to an entire list of federal penalties for that.
Right.
Correct.
Hunter Biden, without question, did that.
Yes.
So he skates on that.
All right.
Allegedly, he failed to pay over $1.4 million in taxes.
Right.
Andrew,
That's the part that really blows my mind.
as so, I don't know if when you were running the business, if you had to file quarterly or how that worked for you.
Hourly.
But
We filed it hourly.
but think about it. If I mean, did you ever have a $1.4 million discrepancy?
Dude,
in
I
your
did. I mean,
taxes?
I gotta be honest with you. If we had a $14 discrepancy, we'd
you
probably
were
lose,
sweating bullets,
yeah,
weren't you?
just- well,
Yeah.
yeah, you were. It was like.
Oh
instantly
my God,
clogged.
we're going to get audited. It's
We're
going to
gonna
be
get
a
audited.
nightmare.
Blah 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 blah. Now it's like, I mean, everyone just lets that one skate. I mean, okay, but and then he has the audacity to say no one's above the law. That's the part that really galls me. And I just think people are so generally sick of us. Now, David J said some folks in California, like Biden or think he's great or blah 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 blah. Is that post the pardon? I just think he is just he sealed his fate as being just generally regarded as the most corrupt, inept, creepy. I mean, we mentioned the child sniffing. I mean, it just on down the line, man. I mean, this administration has been a tarnish on this country, and I think people are just ready to put it behind us. I don't think they're going to want to have Congress doing any investigations or anything like that. I think they're just sick of it.
I'm gonna pull.
Maybe I'm wrong.
I'm gonna pull.
You're reading my mind. I was going to ask you to pull up the Scott Jennings.
Yeah,
And
Well,
Scott Jennings is reflecting essentially what we're saying here right now, and he did it on CNN.
Let me ask you this question: how pissed off are you? Let me just put this. So everyone's like, "Hey, the Republicans are in power, and they have the House and the Senate." Do you know what the lead in the House is down to now?
One seat.
One seat. So do you think with a 1-seat majority, the Republicans are going to be able to get a lot done in Congress?
It's going to be like pulling teeth.
Right. So, I mean, my point is, and how is it 1 seat? I mean, when we got up election morning, it was like, it's going to be 13 seats and, blah, 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 blah. And then some of these races still aren't decided. And it's funny how, I mean, do you find it coincidental that the longer it takes to count the votes, the more it seems like Democrats
It
win those
always goes,
seats?
and the counting always stops once the Democrat has the lead.
exactly.
Once the Democrats ahead by a hundredth of a percentage point, we got to stop counting now.
So
We got all the votes.
when are we as a
Everything we
society
need.
or a country, when the hell are we going to have enough of this bullshit? Because I got to tell you, I'm calling it like it is. It's total bullshit.
It's complete bullshit.
I'm gonna play this clip. And it's damn. When you said this and I watched it, I was like, "Oh, this is fucking perfect."
And this guy, don't forget this is on CNN.
Right. This guy's not.
And to CNN's credit, they have not disposed of this guy yet. He is really the only one that brings any credibility to that network.
I hope he has life insurance.
And I love the looks on these people's faces when this guy just tells it how it is. He is outstanding.
And I'm going to let it play for the duration because it's worth it.
It's classic.
Joe Biden is leaving office making the strongest possible case for Donald Trump that anybody could possibly make it, and that's that our government and our justice system is of, by, and for the elites and nobody else. He ran to banish Trumpism from our political system in this country, and he has left it politically and now institutionally the strongest possible political force in this country. It is a complete and utter failure by the head of the Democratic Party and the President of the United States. Never again do I want to hear, oh, Donald Trump's a liar. You can't believe anything he says. Donald Trump will abuse his power. Donald Trump will only use the system to benefit himself and his family and so on and so forth. Never again. I have one question for Karinne, and that is, why did
Her name is Karinne.
an 11-year blanket pardon
Excellent.
going back to 2014 when Joe Biden was the vice president? We are sitting on the biggest cover-up of who knows what crimes, and Joe Biden amazingly knows exactly, roughly, when it started. He knows just about when it all started.
Exactly.
He's leaving office in complete and total disgrace. He is a liar, and there is no other way to spin this.
Look at the chick on the
This
left.
has nothing to do with Trump and everything to do with the character of Joe
She's
Biden.
having none of it. She is having none of that.
Whatever.
Which, I mean, what a clown. Her sitting there like,
Look,
his points, when you sent that to me, I was like, dude, he hit everything. And when I looked to see, I was like, I was actually shocked that you sent me something from CNN.
So, Jason, you asked why. I think everyone said, usually it's at the last minute. I could be wrong, but I'm fairly certain, if I'm remembering right, his sentencing was scheduled for next week.
I believe December 12th was the day.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's why he went ahead and squashed this before he was sentenced.
Which, yeah.
And how many million? And so let me ask you this: what's the price tag that the federal government has spent on this? What do you think it is? Millions of dollars?
Oh, it's in the millions. I know the Jack Smith
Oh, it's
case
definitely.
that just got dismissed. All that costs like 90 million.
Right. So
So
we
the Hunter
just
Biden's
blew
gotta
through.
be,
Yeah. We just
20, 30, 40 somewhere.
So
in that range,
Joe
I would
Biden
imagine.
starts off saying, "Oh, we're not going to interfere. We're going to let justice take its course." Blah 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 blah. Then they had the plea deal, and then the judge blew up the plea deal. So they were like, shitting bricks, thinking, "What's going to happen now?" And then he's like, "I'm not going to pardon him in." So everything kept going on. We're running out the clock. We're running up the bills. Attorneys are being paid. Blah 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 blah. And he comes along and pardons the dude.
So let me ask you
It's
this.
crazy.
Let me ask you this. So he went through court cases, got convicted,
Yes.
and is now pardoned.
Yes.
A former president,
Can you buy a gun?
a former president, for the last 4 years, has gone through multiple court cases. So when he gets in, and I'm being facetious with this, as soon as he gets in, can he pardon himself with? He hasn't been convicted of anything.
Someone asked if Joe Biden, before he leaves office, would pardon himself,
And
I don't know
and
if
that-
that's possible.
And that's where I was going with that.
right. I don't know if it's possible
Because
that you
he
can
knows
pardon
he's going to
yourself.
get implicated. Because once after January 20th, Trump is in.
right.
If he gets somebody to try to prosecute Joe Biden
Right.
for collusion or whatever, money laundering, Hunter has to testify. Now and what we said earlier is he has no Fifth Amendment right. He has to tell the truth, quote unquote, huge air quotes. But he's exonerated from all his shit. I guarantee you he gets called onto a stand at some point.
Time will tell. Like I said, I think the public is generally, and I think
Donald
the whole-
Trump has 4 years and that's it. And he don't give a fuck.
Yeah, but I mean,
So
remember,
watch.
like I just mentioned, yes, he has 4 years. Okay, realistically, 2 years for the next election cycle to come up.
Sure.
But I mean, he honestly has a 1-seat majority in the House of Representatives. I mean, what do you think's going to happen? I mean, and a lot of those Republicans are probably squishy at best. So it's not like we're going to get a lot.
I think a lot of them
Congress.
are fucking scared because they're going to be implicated in all of the shit anyway.
Well, I think the most interesting thing is obviously, I don't know if it was we did talk about it, but Kash Patel for the FBI is going to be huge because I think he's going to release a lot of lists and a lot of reports that people don't want released.
I have a friend of mine that if he gets confirmed, if Kash gets confirmed,
I think he will.
He's making a T-shirt. Straight cash, homie.
Well,
he's waiting until he's confirmed before he's going to start making them.
I think Kash Patel will go through.
I'll get one of those.
I'll buy one.
But the one now they're trying to squash is Pete Hegseth, and they're coming out with some stuff. And I saw even now the Inquirer. I think it was the Inquirer, maybe it was CPO. Like one of the local stations had a thing on the page, and they mentioned his mom's email, but they didn't mention that the next day. I mean, listen, let me tell you. So his mom's email got released, which I think is shitty as hell. But the guy went through a divorce.
Our buddy Chris Short's in the chats,
and the mom sent him a pretty shitty email. His mother sent him a shitty email because he was getting a divorce, and the mother was pissed off. And the next day, the mother sent another email follow up and apologized. Well, let me ask you a question. You guys have family, right? How many times have you, in the heat of the moment, because you say anything to your family, right? There's no filters sometimes with family, but how many times in the heat of the moment have you said something to your family where you're like, you know what, I'm sorry, or the next hour, or then maybe the next day you thought about it and you're like, I didn't mean to say that, I'm just upset because you stole my Christmas dinner or whatever it might be. My point is, this is a family matter, and they're making it, they're trying to now sink his nomination because of family issues, because he was getting a divorce and his mom was upset about it and sent him a shitty email that said it's his fault or blah, 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 blah. I don't really remember exactly what it said, but it doesn't really matter because the next day the mother apologizes. Yet here comes our local news, right? On their webpage, and they put out, terrible emails might jeopardize. I was like, well, why didn't you share the email from the next day?
Isn't it surprising how these journalistic standards, these high ethical standards that these different media outlets claim to have when it comes to reporting? You remember when Trump was talking to Leslie Stahl about the Hunter Biden laptop? Well, we can't confirm that.
Oh, absolutely.
We have to. Look, we just can't go putting anything out on the air. But whenever it's anything that can damage Trump
or any conservative,
any rumor, any unnamed source, any uncorroborated evidence, any scrap of anything gets reported on immediately. I mean, they are so desperate to try and take this guy down. And I don't think these attacks on Pete Hegseth are going to work. I certainly hope they don't, because this guy would be, look, the fact that you got all these people, these Washington, D.C. elitists, these people who are uber comfortable in their jobs, whether it's at the Department of Defense or whether it's at the FBI, or you name the three-letter agency that Trump is going to go in with, he said, it was Vivek Ramaswamy who said Elon Musk is going to come in with a chainsaw.
Oh, absolutely. I can't wait for the Doge.
And not a pair of tweezers.
Right.
Yeah, he's gonna go in there.
Well, he's straight up,
and he's gonna get it done.
And he straight up said there are going to be departments that are non-existent anymore.
Good.
Because we don't need them.
We don't need them.
Well, hell no, we don't need them.
You have,
how about the Department of Education? I mean, we could start there. That's a big one.
Get rid of it.
Get rid of it. I mean, I don't see what they do. I mean, I know that Jason Simmons would be upset, but we don't really care about Jason Simmons, do we?
I have a ton of tabs open with the whole fucking Karinne Jean Pierre fucking saying, "Oh no, he's not going to pardon him." It's already happened. It is what it is. I find it amusing that Sideshow Bob wanted to be so goddamn mean to everybody. I have told you. I have answered that question. He is
right, and then they spin it. They're like, she's like, well, of course he was going to do it because it was a political blah 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 blah.
He has been toiling with this all week.
Yeah,
He thought about it since last June, but this last weekend was really the thing that made it turn.
Well, now
No.
he's in Africa.
It's December 3rd, and he's coming up on December 12th. Fuck off.
So Joe Biden this week, actually, I think today or yesterday. So
I'm getting rid of these tabs, is what I'm saying.
that's fine. But he goes to Africa, right? And this is to and I actually don't necessarily disagree with this trip because he's got a blunt. There's a lot of Chinese influence in Africa right now. It's kind of concerning. So he's trying to blunt the Chinese influence in some of these countries in Africa. But do you know that this is his first trip to Africa in his presidency? He waited 3 years, 9 months, or 10 months, and then he goes to Africa to fulfill a campaign promise to visit the continent of Africa. I mean, I'd be offended if I was somebody that voted for him because he said he was going to support the African continent, and he waits till literally his administration is over, and he goes over there pledging more hundreds of millions of dollars for different projects in Africa. I think there's a rail system to unite several countries over there. So we're going to go over there and try to buy. I mean, basically what we're doing is trying to blunt the Chinese and buy more influence in these African nations. And I don't necessarily know that is going to come back. You know, I don't know what Trump can do about it in, another month. I hope he can reverse.
Well, he's
some of
doing
it.
everything. Biden's doing everything he can to shovel as much money out the door
Did you see Biden?
before he leaves office.
Did you see he closed a large portion of Wyoming off for coal mining?
Yeah,
Right before he leaves office.
yeah.
And I hope Trump comes in and reverses it.
He's got
the
to.
next day.
I mean, it's got to be day one or day two. I mean,
Why is he doing all this major crap as he's leaving office and screwing this country more than he's already? Why doesn't he just take his money, go smell some
well,
children
let's not
somewhere?
forget when Biden was deposed earlier this year.
Right.
What did that special counsel say? He said this guy is not fit to stand trial.
Absolutely.
And he sat with Biden for a period of time, asked some serious questions, things that he should be able to remember. And that's part of the reason why he said it's not that the guy, that I don't have evidence. And this had to do with Biden hiding the documents
Absolutely.
at these different places.
His garage.
His garage,
It was next to the vet. I mean, you really take care of the vet. So it was right next to the vet.
University of Delaware, at the University of Pennsylvania, or whatever it is, and all these different places.
Our buddy John from Com Center's here.
What's up, John?
He's here. He's in the chat.
And then he goes on, and that was a huge story for about 4 or 5 days. If that was any other president, and we'd still be hearing about that every single. Why is this guy still in office? Why is this guy still in a position where he can make decisions?
He's not making the decisions.
We know that.
The question is who.
We
so I
know
guess
he's
it's
not.
Obama.
The only decision,
But I mean,
is
vanilla. We all know we're being played, and it's just. It really is one of the worst chapters in American history.
It really is.
Let
me tell you something. Thank your lucky stars that we're not still looking at President-elect Kamala Harris, or else we could be, as shitty as the discussion, it would be even worse.
I can't wait. I can't wait to see what happens January 20th at 12:30, between the hours of 12:30 and 1 o'clock, and how fast and how much smoke is coming off of that pen.
Well, here's the deal.
When he's in the office.
My hope is that he pardons all the nonviolent offenders of January 6th immediately.
Which I absolutely think that is part of it.
They will lose their fucking
I don't really care, because we've set the bar now that doesn't matter, right? So presidents can do anything especially since what Joe Biden did with this pardon. So I'm like, pardon those nonviolent offenders. Hear me clearly. There you go. Wait, let me do this again. All right.
Psst, really not the same thing.
It is.
Oh my.
So anyway, and we get those people that have been sitting in jail without a trial, spending hundreds of thousands of dollars, get them out of jail. I would expunge their records if they're nonviolent. How about the I think she's 80-year-old grandma that was protesting at an abortion. She wasn't even protesting. She was standing at an abortion clinic.
In silent prayer.
Prayer. And she's been rotting in jail. But no one really has a problem with that because, we got my rights. And then so pardon her. And you know who else? Penny.
Yes.
Depending on how that trial works
I'm
out,
glad
because
you
it's
rolled-
in deliberation
I'm
now.
glad you rolled into that.
Because I would like to see him pardoned immediately. I mean, if you followed the trial and listened to the testimony of the people that were there, not the people that have an opinion.
Is he
People that
in
were there.
court though on federal charges right now or on state charges?
State charges.
Oh, can he pardon him for state
I don't
charges?
think
so.
know. It would have to be a governor that pardons him on the state charges. I don't think a president can.
Well, there you go.
President can only pardon for federal charges. I believe.
Correct. No, you're absolutely correct. But you can have enough.
I love being correct.
You
Well,
can
it
have
happens.
enough.
I'm pretty used to it.
Even a blind squirrel.
Jesus Christ, you two done. You two again, John.
Well, you said I was correct. I was just thanking you.
John, I'm going to be reaching out to you for an illustration idea that I have. But
Thumbnail.
but he can reach out, and even though New York's Democratic, but he can reach out because this guy's he should be getting off
Well,
of these charges.
If you have listened, and I don't know if people have listened to the testimony, okay, and I'm not talking about what, as I said, not what people's opinion is, but every person that testified was in fear of their life, and the guy was coming in making threats on hurting people and said he was going to kill people. And this guy did not try. He didn't try to kill him. It just, it was sadly a terrible situation. He was trying to incapacitate him, and the guy died.
All right.
Murder? No, I don't think so.
Let me play
Manslaughter?
this.
No.
In
Hopefully I don't get
Marine
an ad.
veteran Daniel Penny's manslaughter trial. He faces up to 15 years
Hopefully I
in
get
prison
volume.
if convicted in the 2023 death of Jordan Neely.
don't
CB
think we have
Cotton is
anything.
live in New York with more on that now. CB, hello.
That's Bill Hammer.
His Bill
Bill,
Hammer.
good morning.
Fox
Well,
News,
before
Bill Hammer.
jurors begin deliberating the
Cincinnati.
Anyway,
Cincinnati kid.
was a good
Cincinnati kid.
good story
guy.
talking about how
Why do we not have volume?
I don't know why.
Technical
It's
difficulties.
technical. They started pulling a lot of the testimony in that, or the prosecutors were trying to pull it into a race, race, but not saying it was a hate crime. Weird.
Are the people on the jury people who have ridden the subway before?
That's a good question, because unless you have ridden the New York subway system, which I have, have you ridden?
I have.
I've never ridden in New York.
It's a different
Chicago, yes.
You've never been to New York?
No.
You've never been? Okay, so anyway, Dan will back me up on this. The New York subway system is a world unto its own.
That's
Now,
fair. That's
It
I
absolutely is.
I can completely see it.
It is a no. I mean, it really is. It's another world down there, and it is amazing. I think it's not necessarily fun. It's really interesting, but you see a subculture of society that you probably don't want to see very much. And I had a buddy that was that went and worked at in Wall Street in New York after college, and he wasn't a big guy. And I was like, what are you going to do? And he goes, I just act like I'm crazy on the train. And I said, what do you mean? He goes, I just sit there and mumble to myself, and everyone leaves me alone, because there's a standard rule: they leave the crazy people alone.
Leave 'em alone if you know it's good for you.
Yeah, right. So it's like,
Don't talk to Carl.
Carl's
fucked up. Just don't talk to him.
when you have that situation occur, Dan raised a great point. The jurors should have been people that rode the subway system at least once. I would be hard pressed. I think you'd be hard pressed to find somebody in New York City that has not ridden the subway,
I think you're right.
because it'd be harder to find somebody that actually owns a
But
car. in New York.
the way juries are and the way prosecutors are in
Absolutely.
in that is, I mean, in New York City's but this Alvin Bragg is such a pig, such a slob.
no question.
So not interested in actual justice that he would do everything he can to have a jury that couldn't even spell subway.
So the fact that, because I watched some of the interrogation videos.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, interview of Daniel Penny.
Right.
Even though it was an interrogation. And it was a cop playing the game, got him comfortable, and got him talking. And he said multiple times, like, I wasn't trying to kill the guy.
Well, I don't think he knew the guy was even dead at that point.
No,
when they
no,
were
he
first-
did. He did not.
The
He
guy,
did not.
That's the thing. The guy was still alive when police got to the first responders.
I'm
got
talking
to the
when
scene.
in
I
the
know.
interview, though. In the interview, when he's at the police station,
I saw it.
that dude's dead.
Well, here's the deal.
That guy's dead. At that
apparently,
point.
but according to the autopsy, the bone like in the neck that would have been broken if the chokehold was the cause of death was not even broken. So it was not the chokehold that killed the guy. I'm not going to bring up the other, George Floyd type thing, but some people have said that based on the toxicology of George Floyd, the chokehold didn't kill George Floyd. It was the drugs in his system that killed him. It might be the much more. I don't know the toxicology report of the subway guy.
This Neely guy was not a upstanding member of society.
No, he's homeless. He had multiple,
and he was threatening
multiple-
to kill people on a subway, and this
Correct.
guy stepped in.
But I mean,
fuck
I think
off
I think
all
the,
day.
I think the evidence, and here's the difference, and maybe you guys can agree or disagree, but George Floyd had a lot of, obviously racial connotations, and the tensions in the country were really high. There were protests everywhere. I don't see, and although some people have tried to introduce it in this case, I haven't seen mass protests of the Penny case
No,
that are going on the racial lines. Are you?
no, absolutely not.
So I think that maybe what will happen.
That's why I wanted to bring it up, because hardly anybody is talking about it.
Right. So what my point is that maybe then the facts of the fact that, the facts might matter more in this case, like the bone in his neck wasn't broken. And that it would have been if the chokehold would have been the cause of his death. So hopefully now I'm saying that maybe there won't be the push to try to be honest, placate the mob and the protests, right? And which there aren't any, and maybe justice will actually prevail. And this poor guy, his life is, toast.
It's unfortunate though, like with the headline that I saw and as I read the article, they were saying that they brought race in even though it wasn't a hate crime, that he's not charged with a hate crime.
Right.
But the prosecutors were bringing in hate,
Well,
hate and race.
Like Dan said, the prosecutor's office is in New York City is full of pigs.
Yeah.
I mean, I hate to say that, maybe not full, but run by a pig. All right,
that's fair.
People that are people that are working for a pig are then tarnished by his pigdom. Like that.
Tarnished by his pigdom.
You like
I
that
was
one?
trying to look at something.
I like
that-
it. Is that-
I heard,
is
heard
that
the
an
last
actual
part.
word?
Of it.
Just I'm
Nicely
gonna make
done.
it
You
a
just
word.
make a word up.
Well, I mean,
Nice.
have you ever watched college football? Physicality wasn't a word 5 years ago. Now it's all
Physicality.
years. Physicality. So I'm going with pigdom, and I like pigdom.
I like
Coin it. Book it. It's gonna be popular.
I'm gonna move that up there, Dan. Get that out of the way a little bit.
Oh, Julie was giving us stories of synthetic marijuana and a bunch of other drugs in the system. So yes, I mean, I haven't seen, like I said, I haven't seen the toxicology on his blood work, but I have no reason to doubt you. And
You talking about the guy in the Penny case?
yes,
Yeah.
So
Not an upstanding individual, and when you're threatening to kill people on an enclosed subway train,
right?
guess what? Somebody stood the fuck up who was trained by our government
Right.
to protect people.
Right.
And he protected people.
And
Go fuck yourself
and-
if you don't fucking
and every other testimony of all the people on the train have corroborated that viewpoint.
yes. And he had people helping him, and they're not being brought up on trial. People were holding his arms,
Honestly,
even
it
though
was-
he had him in.
Yeah,
Right, in the
but
chokehold.
everyone knows that if it was Daniel Penny that walked onto that train and said, I don't care if I go back to prison, I'm going to start killing people, I don't give a shit. And some black dude got him in a chokehold, and Penny was the one who was killed, and it was some black dude that put him in a chokehold.
In New York,
This wouldn't even be a story.
no, because
It would have never.
well, it had
ever
never gone.
it
never
would have
gone to
made. It
trial.
would have been on local news for a day.
Right.
That would have been the end of it.
and the prosecutor in New York would not have brought charges.
Yeah. Not interested. Not
Right.
even sniff that case.
I agree with that wholeheartedly.
All right,
And that's
so-
sad because justice is supposed to be, last I checked, justice is supposed to be blind. She's blindfolded for a reason. But we've so far past that. Maybe we get back to that in this country, and that'd be a noble goal. But I don't think it's going to happen.
And look, if Daniel Penny or any white dude walks onto a subway and starts doing exactly what this guy did, I would hope someone would be willing to step up and take that guy down and if necessary, take him out.
Well,
Yeah.
after what has just happened,
I'd
would you?
be defending the black dude the exact same way I'm defending this guy.
But let me ask you a question in that regard. Given what's happened now to Daniel Penny, would you really think that anyone's going to have the gumption to? Doesn't that dissuade?
Would you
anyone
Sure it
want?
does.
Would you want
Sure
to do
does.
it?
Would you want to put your? I mean, literally, think about this for a second. Would you want to put your life on the line? Meaning, other than protecting yourself, would you like to put your future on the line?
I would like to think that if I was in that situation, I'd be
After
able to
today,
step up like this guy
after
did.
this.
If the guy looked like our buddy Zeke Arkham, I might think twice about it.
Well, he's big. He's a huge motherfucker.
But I mean, my point is now this is going to be run. So let's say that, Dan, you're in a situation just exactly like this.
Yes.
Like you go to Anderson Town
question.
Center and
Yeah.
you're going to ride the hayride to go see Santa. And somebody and somebody
I
starts,
thought you said I'm going to get on the Anderson Township subway.
and somebody starts freaking out.
Let's
And
say,
you're
let's
gonna-
say I'm at a chicken place on Beachmont Avenue. Let's say I'm at one of those places.
Would you let him fucking?
But he
Get
knows
his
where I'm
thought
going
out.
with this. Are you going to sit there? Or isn't this case going to run through your mind? You say, am I going to risk my future by helping these people that I don't even know, and then have the whole legal system come down on my head?
That's tough.
It's tough.
Here
Yeah,
in
that's gonna
here
that's-
here in Hamilton County,
Anywhere.
I would like to think that. Well, it maybe not so much in Hamilton County,
okay.
Claremont County, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So it depends. where
Butler
you're
County,
from.
Warren
Yes.
County,
Yeah, okay.
without a moment's
So
hesitation.
your cape only goes so far.
Would I maybe give it some thought? If I really thought that if my intervening was going to prevent someone, maybe a family member, a friend, someone I know, a neighbor, from being harmed or possibly killed,
Outside of keeper.
then I would like to think that if the time came, I would do what I had to do.
I think you would. I'm just
I like
saying,
to think that.
I'm just saying that
And I'll let the chips fall where they may.
I think what we're going to turn into, based on this prosecution by a prosecutor's office full of pigdom, that at the end of the day, what you're going to see is you're going to see people in New York City committing crimes, and you're going to see people sitting right next to them, sitting on their hands because they don't want to get.
It happens now.
Well, but it's going to happen more.
We literally watched a cop get the shit kicked out of him
In New York City.
by illegal immigrants. I mean, just fucking gang rape kicked, where his fucking eyeball was almost out of his fucking face.
Yeah.
And you have
Yeah.
people who, like Daniel Penny, who stood up, who felt, and watching the interview, they call it an interview. It's a fucking interrogation, because this fucking detective, in my opinion, was a complete piece of shit, because he played him in, and Daniel Penny allowed it. But hey, buddy, hey man, I get it. I understand. I understand where you're at, but just walk me through it. He goes, I thought he was going to hurt some other people. So I'm a Marine. I've been trained. So I just wrapped him up. Well, then he started going into, and I don't know if you've seen this interview,
I have seen it.
to where he's like, so are you calling it a rear naked choke? And he was like, no, like the Marines, we didn't call it that. It was just, we just subdued.
Right.
I wrapped my legs around him, and then two other guys grabbed his arms, and I just held him until you guys got there. And then, like, I watched the interview, and he was like, look, man, I wasn't like trying to kill anybody. I didn't want anybody else to get hurt.
Right.
And it's watching the interview is heartbreaking to see what this poor guy's having to go through right now.
Right.
To deal with some piece of shit who had no care for any life in that boxcar of that subway. And this guy decided to step the fuck up
And do the right thing and protect people that
Yes.
he didn't even know.
It fucking hurts me.
And now our justice system, or I should say New York's justice system,
Yes.
is stepping up and
Or Hamilton
and-
counties too, probably.
and ending this guy's life. So I mean, my point is that in hindsight, let's say that you roll back time and it happens again. This guy's gonna be like, knowing what I know now, I'm not getting involved. Screw it. I don't care.
But as I watch that interview, what I see is a guy. There's a legal concept, and I'm not a lawyer, but I've heard about this concept before, and I've heard it discussed before. It's called consciousness of guilt. And this guy, to my way of thinking, I look at his body language. I look at the way he was responding to questions. I look at his overall demeanor and his attitude. He was more than happy to tell these cops everything. I mean, and I heard the guy, hey, let's go over the timeline again. You walked in, this happened.
He wasn't trying to hide anything.
He had no inhibitions at all about discussing what he did, because in his own mind, he was telling himself, I did what I had to do. I mean, he was, number one, he made it perfectly clear. He was not attempting to kill the guy. That was not his mindset. He did not want the guy to be dead. His main concern was protecting those other people on the train. So when I look at that, and I think I'm looking at it slightly different than you are. I see a cop who's doing his job, and he's playing all the games that he has to play. And it was classic the way that this guy, he worked this guy, and was able to get information out of him.
It's called an interrogation.
But I think Penny was so willing to give up that information because in his own mind, he had no conception at all that he possibly did anything wrong.
Right.
And he's trying to help the cops out. They're going to, he understands they got to investigate, find out what happened.
Well, to be fair, he still didn't know the guy was dead.
Yeah. Can connect the dots. I'll do my interview. We'll do some paperwork. I'll be out of here in a few hours.
No, correct me if I'm wrong. Was the guy, because I don't know the timeline of the interview versus when the guy expired. Was he dead at this point?
No, Penny, the way I understood it, in that interview, Penny did not know that he had passed away yet.
Right, but did the cops know?
I think they did, and
Okay,
that's where this is a little bit
okay. So
dicey.
If that's the case, I think the argument could be made that the cops had a responsibility, or the legal system had a responsibility to inform him of that, because maybe then he really would have been. He said, you know what? Because a smart person would have said, "What? I'm not saying a word till I get an attorney." I mean, that would be a smart thing to say.
Absolutely.
Because obviously he's not trying to hide anything. And I'm not saying he's guilty, but let's be fair. A lot of people that aren't guilty get screwed because they might have said something that they probably shouldn't have said, or it's misconstrued by the prosecutors. And then they have to spend a shit ton of money to defend themselves. So I think that the argument could be pretty much made that if the police knew that the victim was dead and we're still conducting the interview with Penny without informing them that, hey, now this is a murder investigation, not an assault investigation. I think that maybe a lot of that testimony could have been thrown out or not admitted, because I think it's deceptive.
And I don't know the exact.
But I'm not an attorney.
I don't know the exact.
Although I've been told I probably should have been one.
No, well, yeah, you probably should have, because you like to bitch. You like to bitch a lot. But here's my other thing too: is we have a guy, who has served his country. We trained him to serve his country,
right? And
instinct took over,
right,
to protect people.
So is the government liable?
That's a whole other.
Isn't that a nice, deep question there?
That's a whole other question.
That's a deep question. I mean, it's logical.
But I mean, he took the training that he had,
right.
And he in this interview said, I was concerned that he was going to hurt somebody else, and he put himself there.
No, he's not a big guy either.
No, do I think that motherfucker wanted to go kill Neely? No,
not a big dude.
Absolutely not. Guess what?
He looks like a guy who can handle himself.
I mean, he's not like
he's tall, lanky.
Like he's just some muscular
he's tall, lanky,
dude.
But I'm sure he's trained. Though he's trained. So I mean, I don't understand. And we'll see. We'll see when the deliberations come out.
That guy's like, thank God I didn't touch him. You know what I'm saying? I mean, and then I love how people have their phones out and everyone's filming everything.
Of course, that's what they do these days.
But guess what? Nobody got killed, even though he said he was going to kill everybody on the train. Nobody got killed.
I would have been taking a selfie. I'd have my selfie stick out.
I'm sure
So you got
would have.
well, you got the guy with chokehold in one arm, and
All right, so
Pappas, where did that picture come from? I took it.
our buddy Deadleg just commented, said this judge decreased a sentence of someone because they were black. They had intent to kill and rob someone. So Deadleg's in the chats.
Great to hear from you, Deadleg.
Well, it's
John said they don't have to read him as rights. They aren't going to question him.
it's
All right.
in deliberation, and let's just
God, I just hope this jury does the right thing.
let's hope the jury
I
does
really-
the right thing.
I
This
just-
guy's and you know what? I'd like to see. Let's just say the jury does the right thing. The guy's acquitted. I'd like to see the prosecutor's office not pursue anything else.
Let it go.
I'd like to see the Justice Department not pursue like civil right violations or some of the bullshit that they like to
I don't
do
think
when they
Trump's
get away.
Justice Department
Would.
would pursue that.
And I'd like to see the guy's life made whole again. And I don't mean the guy that died. I'm talking about Neely's life somehow that he's made whole.
You mean Penny?
Penny.
Yeah.
Because I think that what he's gone through just for doing the right thing is something that we as a society should say, you know what, we're not going to tolerate this, and he needs to be made whole.
Well, I think that
And that's why I brought this up
Yeah.
is because it was kind of subdued for a little bit. It was in the headlines, then went away. Just hit because they hit deliberations. But I felt like we haven't talked about it a whole bunch.
no, I can see someone stepping up for this guy and giving him a job or
Well, I'd like to
Or
see maybe some sort of account
giving him-
set up that
giving him
average
an avenue
people
where he can
like Dan Carroll could write a large check to him.
large check.
All right,
I can write a large check.
mark that in your notes.
Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be any
Put
good.
that in your
Mark that in your
computer.
notes.
I'll send you a text.
On that note, we'll tell you about a great sponsor of the One More and I'm Out of Here podcast, and it is our buddy Rick Barrick. When the time comes to borrow money, it doesn't matter if your name is Andrew Pappas or really who you are. There are always questions. May we suggest you consider our friend Rick Barrick. Rick has been helping thousands of people unlock the financial potential of their homes for more than 26 years. Rick teams up his experience with Cross Country Mortgage, the second largest mortgage company in America. And that combines to help offer solutions for every borrower, whether it's a new home purchase, refinancing, a low-interest home equity line of credit to consolidate debt. Rick has all the options tailored for your unique situation. And now if that situation might involve your credit score or maybe a past challenge in getting a loan, talk to Rick and see how he can help you get on the right path. The number is right there on your screen. It's 513-383-2923. Or you can email Rick, rick.barrick@ccm.com, and you will be just one step away from personalized mortgage solutions. You want to read the MLS number there?
NMLS
You're
18738.
Can you see it from across the room?
I just did. NMLS 18738.
nailed it. Killed it.
There you go.
Ooh, I
Beautiful.
remembered it. 18738.
Thanks for your help on that.
So,
Well, I mean, you kind of threw me under the bus there at the end. What's the? I can't read the long number on the bottom.
Welcome-
so we'll
welcome to
just
the
keep it
world.
to the short one.
welcome to the world.
Do you want
So-
to read? I was like, no, I don't. But I will.
I'm going to start doing that every time we do that ad.
That's
All right.
I'll be happy to help. I'm here to help.
So I found this article today too, which I found amusing
Mhm.
in the fact that certain townships, towns, cities, whatever, they can make their own rules versus the First Amendment right.
Which I don't necessarily think is a bad thing.
I wanted to get your opinion because
Yeah.
I shot this to you late, so I was curious.
Well, wasn't this something that came up when you were a commissioner about the whole?
I was not a
home-
commissioner.
I mean, not commissioner, but trustee.
Well, I mean,
The whole home rule. It's called home rule, right?
right. But
Yeah.
here's the deal. So I mean, well, school boards can do this too. So there was I looked at the video, and there was another video. There's a couple of videos out about this place. I think it's New Jersey, right?
Yep.
And is it a township, or is it a village, or is it a city? What is it?
It
Does say?
is. Hold on, stay by. Let me look at
And it doesn't really. I mean, it's not critical. It looks to be just like a council of some fashion.
Town council.
Okay, there you go.
Edison, New Jersey,
Edison, New
town
Jersey.
council.
So here's the deal. So
So is that a
during
village?
during
It's a village. It's a
dur-
village council.
during public comments, you have certain rules, and the rules are that you're not. We had established here at Anderson. I don't know what rules they've established, but you're not allowed to. You can make public comments because they're public, right? But you're not allowed to address individual board members or ask them questions. It's not a dialogue. It's just a chance for you to air your grievances, almost like the Festivus. So, which is coming up soon. So, apparently, this council has a rule against what they have deemed to be props, and this guy, which I think is kind of foolish. I mean, it seems like they're definitely violating his First Amendment. But the guy gets up there, and Jason's going to show the video. I think they violated this guy's First Amendment. Now, he didn't use, you could say that we have a rule against vulgarity, like you can't curse. We had someone at the school board go up one time recently and call all the school board. What do you call them? I think he said racists or something. He went up there and was he went up there and he was is that
a vulgar term?
He was
Flavian
physicality. And
it's made up, so no, it doesn't count.
And
that's a good word.
And he was, but you can't go up there and insult you vulgar language. They can say, well, I'm sorry, your time's up and we're not going to allow you to speak, and ask for you to be removed. That's not the case here. And you tell me what you think and watch the video.
Yeah. So this is where I was conflicted.
What part?
Because when they said, well, you can't use props. Okay.
Right. Well, what they've defined as props. Right.
But that's very subjective.
Well, I mean, if he comes out there with, let's say he comes out there, well, a prop could be something like a big dildo and he's waving it at him. That's a prop. Okay.
I
mean, that
Prime 99.
What's Prime 99?
We'll show you after.
Oh, God. But I mean, my point, that would be a prop. I don't think either of these two, because you're going to show the one with the flag, right?
Yes. I did not think this was anything.
Well, because they booted him for the Constitution as well.
Yes. So, all right, here, let me pull it up. What I thought immediately was.
Did I say dildo?
Prime.
I think I did say dildo, right?
Are we allowed to say that?
Is that a drinking term? I think you have to drink the whole can when I say the word.
But this town council banned American flags from.
That's my point.
Being in their presence.
Right. It offends them. Yeah. Would you care to guess their party affiliation?
Well,
I bet you they're Democrats.
Would you let me play the goddamn video?
Okay,
how's that sound?
Please do.
Right. I'm holding up an American flag to represent the constitutional values.
I'm going to give you a warning, and if you continue, I will have to forfeit. You'll have to forfeit your time.
Well,
I'm your time.
It's my constitution. It's my constitutional right to do this.
You didn't
If you get sued, you'll lose. My suggestion to you is that you get a second opinion from competent counsel because you are wrong.
Just turn it down. Here's an echo.
The right message of a member of the public, and it should stop now. I'd like to continue. So,
they can pass the law yet.
this is an arbitrary.
If he doesn't sit down.
This is an arbitrary
His time is forfeited.
and it violates the law. Your time should be forfeited. Your position should be forfeited. By your actions, you forfeit your right to preside over this meeting.
Please have it in the room. Just let us take that room.
Shame on you.
He's an attorney, by the way.
Well, I think he's going to have one hell of a lawsuit.
Yes.
Forfeited. I'll sit
Mr.
back
Dassoff,
down.
you continued after your time was forfeited, you continued after the officers told you to sit down, you continued after the council president repeatedly asked you to stop. You've now been asked to be removed from the chambers. So,
There's no reason to remove me.
I don't know
from the
that
chambers
guy.
because I am not
Which guy?
interfering
But
with
that
your
guy who's
orders.
speaking
I'm
right
ready-
now.
Excuse me, I'm ready to sit
But
here
he's an
quietly, and
ass.
I will not interfere with your decorum, so I have a right to
You
be
just tell
here.
him
So look, this guy sat down,
All in favor?
but there's multiple people with flags.
Meeting has been recessed for 5 minutes. We'll be back at 7:04.
So,
Are you ejecting him from the meeting?
Township of Edison.
Are you ejecting him from the
This
meeting?
is township. Yeah, they are, sure. So we've had a school board meeting where we had some Democrats interrupt the meeting, not during public comments. They called one of the sitting school board members a whore, and she threatened her that she would see her at church. I don't have a problem with removing.
I remember that. I remember that.
That's
a threat.
That's a threat. Nothing was done to her. The FBI didn't visit her house. Should have, didn't. Erica Chiswick. But at the end of the day, I don't see how you could call what that guy had a flag, literally a flag, and it was a small flag. It's not like it was an 8x10 or a big 4x6.
An American flag.
An American flag. We are in America, but they labeled that a prop. Another example, what they did to him, he was holding an 8x10 piece of paper that was the Constitution, or the Bill of Rights, and he was holding it. Now, what would be you cannot label these things as props, and then they didn't like it. They didn't like what he was saying, so they sought to silence him, had the police escort him out. I think they violated his rights. I think if he's an attorney, he's probably going to sue them for a sizable chunk of money to teach them a lesson. But, you should have some decorum in public meetings where you have rules set up that you can't, wave a prophylactic device. What do I want to say? I don't want to use the term. What's another word for dildo? Sex toy? Dan knows. Dan knows
rubber wiener.
Rubber wiener.
Rubber wiener.
or glass wiener. I don't know.
I wouldn't want to be sitting there and have somebody waving that thing. And I mean, don't misunderstand me. Like the big golden bullet here. I would just say you should have some rules in public comments, and because I've been the subject. I've had some of the
this thing battery operated.
So big. I've had
you can take it home with you now that you put your hands on it.
I remember a trustee meeting where I was
slippery. It was a good thing I didn't drop it.
Where we had to institute new rules after that because they kept going on and on, railing on me about
back
something.
The wrong way.
But he likes touching it, and he's still touching it. Can't stop touching it.
I'm voting for the felon.
But here's the deal. So, yeah, I think that there should be some rules in public meetings on decorum and what you can do, but I think that crossed the line. I don't think the flag
him standing there with a flag
is not
and trying to address his town council. And I make the joke all the time.
We're getting lots of words for dildo. That's awesome. Who did Weenor?
But
that's just so
but what dawned on me as I was watching that video was that there's a room full of citizens there at that town council meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Chances are a lot of people in that room voted for the people who were sitting up there on that dais. They need to check themselves.
Sure.
And look at who the fuck they're putting in those positions.
No question.
Chances are that guy waving the flag around voted for some of those very people.
Probably.
On that council.
Probably.
There were other flags in the chambers.
My suggestion to that guy is the next election cycle.
Run for office.
Put your name in the hat.
Run for office.
And get those people out of there.
Vote them out.
And guess what? Then you can have all the American flags in there that you want.
This goes into the story that we had with the kid in Indiana who wrapped his truck in a flag. Had a flag flying.
Started out with just a flag, in the back of his truck.
Yeah.
I'm still hoping to get on the podcast.
God, what is that kid's name?
I've met the kid. He was
you did?
Yeah, he was at the Yellow Ribbon Support Center dinner, the Let Us Never Forget dinner, and he brought his truck.
But then
after it was wrapped, he's a good kid.
Ended up getting a truck wrapped.
He's a cool kid. We celebrated him.
But if you put your fucking flag in the fucking sand and say this is my fucking right, I can do it, I'm gonna fucking do it.
Well, I like I said, and clearly the school in Indiana overstepped their bounds, and the kid got a free wrap truck out of the deal and stuck it up the school boards.
But I'm rolling it all back in. Like, why does this town council have the ability to say you are not allowed?
Well, they have the ability to say it, but the problem is that they're going to be sued over it because
Correct.
they have the ability. That doesn't mean that they're right.
Correct.
And
That-
and
that's
I
what I'm
don't
saying.
think that's an impeachable offense for the town council.
No, it's not impeachable, but guess what? It costs money for the fucking village
Oh, yeah.
council or
Oh,
the
yeah.
city
Well,
or
yeah.
whatever it is.
Sure, to be sued, absolutely.
Well, in my opinion,
So you're being fucking ignorant.
Well,
they,
you're being
they
dumb.
ban props. They ban props in their meetings,
right?
Because number one, because they're cowards. They don't want people coming in like a lot of the school board meetings we saw over the last 2 or 3 years, where angry parents came in with books that came out of a school library
and read
books that were available to second, third, and fourth graders, talking about guys getting blowjobs, jerking off, all that kind of stuff in the schools.
Boy, this show's going to go down in the books.
Well, I'm just saying.
We've had.
Someone figured out, hey, you know what? We can ban props. That means people can't come in with a book, open it, and start reading from it because that's a prop.
A book that's available in the very library
Right.
that they preside over.
So the people on that town council are straight up cowards. The people who voted for them are fucking numbnuts, and they need to wake up and get those people the hell out of there.
I can't disagree. I can't agree more. And I think you're exactly right. And Dan said it right.
Damn.
The guy is twice you were right in the show.
I'm telling you, man, I'm getting pretty used to being right all the time.
But
He's on a roll.
We need, at the end of the day, we need good people, because obviously, at least in that township, it doesn't seem like they had good people run for office, right? Because you got a bunch of incompetent buffoons up there.
And that guy who was speaking, who was trying to shout that dude down. I mean, he's the worst of the worst kind of politician.
But that's why we need good people to step up and run for these positions. And that applies locally. School board, we have elections coming up, and we need good people to step up. We have races all the time, and we need people to step up and get involved. But sadly, people think, oh, I'm not going to get involved. I'm too busy, blah, 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 blah. And that's why you end up with the caliber of people that you saw calling that American flag and Constitution a prop. And hopefully they'll be held accountable this next election cycle, wherever the hell that is, in New Jersey or wherever.
Edison, New Jersey.
Edison, New Jersey.
Well,
the home of
I
Thomas
heard
Edison.
I heard it's lovely this time of year.
Fuck those people.
Probably getting lake effect snow or
fuck those council people.
Whatever.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
We're gonna be back Monday at 5 p.m.
Monday?
Monday.
I gotta check my calendar.
Please make a note of it.
Please make a note of it.
We won't
almost sound like a voicemail. Please make a note of it.
That was that reminds me of it was a joke that I heard back when Bob and Tom used to be funny, right?
Oh, dude, I used to love
the Bob and Tom show. Used to be hilarious
back in the day,
and they would have all these different comedians on. And this guy comes on one time, and he was from San Francisco, and this goes back several years when San Francisco got, I think, the first female public address announcer at a Major League Baseball stadium. Okay, so I think they played in Candlestick Park back then. But he said, yeah, it's weird. You go to the ball game and you've got this female announcer coming over, and it's so unusual. Back then, it was unusual to hear a female announcer on a Major League Baseball public announcing system. And he said, yeah, it's just he says I went to a game a week or so ago, and when it was like this, it was like now batting number 47. Please make a note of it. I mean, I can't do the joke as well as that guy did, but it was pretty funny the way he told the story.
Bob and Tom were great. Yeah. Andrew, did you check your schedule? Are you good?
I don't know. I'll check my schedule. I don't know.
He's looking at recipes.
Well, no. There's. Listen, I'll be honest.
You've been looking at recipes for egg foo young the whole time.
I was. Hey, I'm on a new.
Was it Chinese night tonight?
I'm on a new diet.
Every time I see you're on a new diet.
I know, and this one's gonna stick. But no, there's
cream of something.
There's a snowstorm coming in the Great Lakes, so it just depends on what the snow.
I thought they already got snow in the.
They're
getting
getting
the Buffalo game the other night.
That's Buffalo. I'm not in Buffalo, but there's a.
Well, that's Great Lakes area.
There's a snowstorm, another one, a clipper coming through, and it depends if there's mucho snow. I might be occupado. But we'll figure it out.
Well, let me know, because if you're going to snowmobile, I want to go up. I want to do that.
I don't know if I'm doing that yet.
Well, let me know.
And it's a long drive.
Are you going to have some GoPro video?
Oh yeah, probably.
Yeah,
if I go.
then we got to show it here on the podcast.
Well, I'm debating with some new technological equipment.
We're potentially going to be back. We'll probably be
back because I'd probably be back by then.
Monday, 5 p.m. Hey,
Yeah,
everybody.
We're going to have a test on all the material we discussed tonight.
Oh my God. This is fucking such a shit show. I love it. We'll see you soon. Love you guys. Thanks for tuning in. One more and I'm out of here.